Here. Okay, yes, it's back. That's your. Yes, it's sorry. Page.
What page? Page Tov Kuf Mem Dalet. Tov Kuf Mem Dalet. Okay, let's start, Rabbi say. Hilchos Shabbos Simin Shin Yud Tes. We are holding Sif Yud Aleph. Oichol Upsailis Hamuravin. Also, lead number Mayim Rishiyipel Hapsailis Lamata. If someone has Oichol, things he wants to eat, Upsailis, things that are Psailis, they're waste, you can't eat it. They're mixed together. You're not allowed to put them into a basin of water in order that the psoilus will fall down in the water. Kigoyin shapsoilus who offer. Example, when you want to get rid of the dirt on a vegetable or something, you put in the water, the dirt comes off and falls down, falls off into the bottom. Or it should float up. What type of psoilus floats up? Kigoyin shu teven, like straw. Various forms of, like let's say beans. People wash, but maybe they make the cholent, or you make rice. People pour water on it to clean it from any dirt and any bugs. So you put the water on it, the stuff inside rises because the beans are heavier. And everything else rises. That's boirer on Shabbos, because you separated the good from the bad. You took a taroivis, a mixture, and you separated the two. You're not allowed to take a vegetable and rub it with your hand in the water. To remove the dirt on it. Because it's similar to the idea of boirer. However, you're allowed to put the psoilus in a sifter. Although you're not allowed to use a sifter on Shabbos, because that's mamish a keli that you use for boirer. You shake something in a sifter, you're separating the good from the bad. But if you put it in without shaking it, and on its own pieces fall, that's different. It happened on its own. You didn't do it. Now, this halacha in Sifir Aleph brings up the Ashayla, how are we allowed to wash vegetables on Shabbos? Fruits. Before you eat the fruit, you wash it underneath the sink. Am I not doing an act of boirer here by washing off the dirt on the outside? Anything I don't want on the outside of the fruit, want to clean it. Am I not doing boirer? I'm separating the psoilus from the eichel, just like this halacha in Sifir Aleph. So this is a very big shaila over here, a big discussion. And Lamaisa, we are mekel to wash underneath the water. And one of the reasons given is over here, it's talking about you put it into the basin. It's different when you're holding it in your hand underneath the flow of the water. You put it in the basin, so you see that there's dirt and there's the vegetable and the separating. When you wash something in the water, you don't see anything happening. Just washes off. You don't even notice it. Just goes down the drain. It's not recognizable. And boirer is when it's recognizable. I'm not recognizably doing anything. There's not clearly any malacha happening here. It's one of the svaras to be mekel. The other svaras to be mekel is maybe when you're holding it in your hand, you're holding the fruit, the vegetable, that's the oichel. So the psoilus is going away, and you're taking the oichel. You're allowed to take oichel from psoilus on Shabbos. You're allowed to take what you want to eat away from the psoilus. When you put them into the basin, you're not taking the oichel. It's sitting there and they're separating. So they're the one who discusses this very great length is the early Chabad Posek of Chaim Na, his Sefer K'tzais HaShulchan, and he talks at length to explain the heter to wash fruits and vegetables, because seemingly, if you read this at face value, what we just read, this should seem to be a problem. But he explains to differentiate many proofs and many logical ideas to separate and make distinct these two cases. Chemicals not really visible. I mean, the sprays you're saying, people want to wash off. People want to wash off because that's why people want organic.
No.
Many people like organic because they don't want any spray.
I don't think you need a carrots suck out the toxins from the earth. So a lot of places they have to be to the companies and things that plant carrots and suck out the toxins. But and
Really?
nothing else really.
Yeah, but don't they spray this for the bugs and things? The people that are very into organic foods, they don't want anything. The question if it's really organic, it's not really organic, but I mean, I have a family member that's very careful about this. I mean, a yachid, but
The thing was,
it's not him; it's his wife. His wife is into it, so you can't argue with the balabasta. If the wife said it's a sakonas nefashis, if she wants organic, it's organic. We can't fight City Hall.
you have to use vinegar, baking soda, soap.
Yeah, that removes it.
Well, everything was still organic. Now it started within the last 30 years, it started with all the chemical.
Now, when you don't spray, it's worth more money. You pay a lot more money that you don't spray. You think that you spray is extra work to spray. Now, if you don't spray, you pay extra for this organic. I mean, does the USDA regulate organic? Did they decide, or supposedly they're going to check up?
It's genetically engineered, but they didn't spray it. That's considered organic.
I don't know. Do they consider it organic? You're asking. You're asking. I don't know the rules. I mean,
Oh.
how's Rabbi Frank feeling?
Yeah, after that.
He came back.
Visit.
He came back from the hospital. How's he feeling
This
better?
observation? This observation. No, his wife actually. I asked her yesterday. She said he room number what, and he said he was wanting to heat him to know, and he was all concerned. He said this sign there's nothing there for a while.
No.
So yeah,
He said no.
he said it's a one time thing that we don't get. So, well,
Oh, the big chasana coming up.
Then I got to leave it.
My wife's brother is engaged to
To a friend.
Rabbi Frank's granddaughter. Yeah.
No, it's by the house. It's by the house. It's the Friday. Like one day talking. It's the first time into. It'll be the first time they probably moved forward. Like when they're in Albany, they would pop in every so often. They also probably a lot smaller family. But once they moved to Florida, it was like
They don't look like a small family, Jose, no?
no. But when they were still in Albany, it's
Oh.
smaller family. Once they moved to Florida, it's already 3 or 4 more kids. And plus, they don't comprehensive. They still comprehensive. They would help.
Baruch atah Adonai Elohim Hashem Shekel right.
Yeah, but they go with an Albany with Frank Ruben. Now he has his own show. That's a question. Somebody's checking the books. If you have to check for Shabbos, and they don't have any open, this would the food in this circuit.
What is, yeah?
A lot of them, it's a problem.
To do what?
It's like,
Check for the bugs, not a problem. The shaila is when you find the bug, what do you do?
Like cabbage, this is. I asked Yaakov Polovich, he says, supposed to peel off the first couple of blood up, turns out, if, and if it's, like, if there's no belch, some of the rest disappear.
This is already shown another sugi. You have to ask the kashas people. I don't know the answer to these questions.
She gets, I guess, it's similar.
Yeah, whatever the kashas ever know. It's not even the rabbanim; it's the kashas people. Saying a rav that throws himself into the practical side of it, but beside the shaila boider on Shabbos, there's no problem to wash off the lettuce and check it. The shaila is what do you do when you find the bug? That's the shaila. So today, most people, they, in America, they throw out the leaf that they find the bug on. They throw out the leaf. So there's no shaila boider because you throw out the whole leaf. But if you want to preserve the leaf, and you just want to throw out the place on the leaf where the bug is, but that would be a shaila. How should you go about doing it? How should you remove the bug? When you're throwing out the leaf, there's no problem. There's no shaila better. You're not being mevader. You're throwing it out.
Now with the should have to peel it.
Very good question. So oranges, bananas, right, and the egg shells. So it says that you're allowed to do it right before you eat. Before the meal, before you're going to eat, you're allowed to take it off. You're taking the bad from the good. There's two explanations.
The basic and the chule.
Right.
So, let's see, they found other things, those, like you showed it. It's under high capacity, phosphorus and something else. It's good for insane.
We have our pharmacist here.
Only a pharmacist. That's doing it from a farmer perspective, not a pharmacist.
So there are two ways to understand why we're allowed to do that. Well, you're taking the bad from the good, like you're asking. So one way is to say, one has vara, to say since it's efsher lechel, you can't get to the food any other way, then this is nechshav derech achila and not derech malacha. This is not considered the whole reason why you have to take the oichel and not the psoilus is because that's derech achila and not derech malacha. Taking psoilus away, that's the way how you do malacha. Over here, you have no other way to do it, so this becomes derech achila. It's one way to understand it. Same thing. Yeah, gam ke mutar. Yeah, the mutar. But the other explanation is, there's another explanation that something is only psoilus if it was not naturally grown together. The peels and the shells grew together with the food. It naturally grows that way. So there is a svara to say that when something naturally grows together, it's all one unit, one mina echad, and it's not nechshav kipsoilus. It's like a shomer. The klippa is a shomer lepri. It's guard. Hashem made it in a way it should be protected because if the orange wouldn't have peel, it would be ruined, and the egg, everything would get ruined. The banana. So a tougher fruit and vegetable doesn't need it. A softer one needs to protect it. So it's a shomer lepri. So this svara says that apsoilus is a shomer lepri, and that's the way it grew. It's not apsoilus. L'maise that Shulchan Aruch paskins we are allowed to take it off, but if you take it off la'alter right before you eat, before the meal, you're allowed to take it off the peel. But you can't do it a few hours before. To do it before you're going to have the meal. You can't say in the morning, I want to make fruit salad, but I'm going to make a lot of fruit salad both for now and for Shalosh Shudas. Shalosh Shudas is much later, especially in the summertime. So you're not allowed to take it off the peel.
Again, if you make, let's say you make salad for kiddush,
No problem.
left over for
That's not a problem. But you can't make
juice.
I'm gonna make a whole extra because I have in mind. Let me just do it all now. It's easier for me. I'm doing all the work now, and I'll have it extra. If you have extra, no problem. It's not a problem. This is a very common boiler situation that could come up on Shabbos. So you have to be mindful and think, what am I doing? Because very easily you could be over on boiler on Shabbos. It's a very easy melacha to be over on when you're eating. You don't think, and we do things sometimes, and right away we're doing something. Good to see you. We have Rabbi Sabge here. Now, what were you asking, Betcha? Something?
Shabbos, Pesach. Like on the Thursday, so last day, it's going to Shabbos, but not on Pesach, actually. So, who's washing everything, we're peeling everything, right? We're peeling it, and that day to prepare it. What are we worried about? If we already had it in our presence, we should have done it beforehand. Right? What are we peeling them for? Otherwise, we would think that we have comments already in the house that we peel.
Okay, so it's a good question. That's a Pesach Shali asking, Betson.
Yeah, but
So the answer to that in general is like this: that the reason why the oilam is so machmer Pesach and Mahadel, especially Chsidim, this stems from the Arizal. The Arizal said that Kol Hanizer Mimashu Chametz on Pesach is Muftach Loi Shleyechta Kol Hashana. He won't do any Aveda Kol Hashana. What does that mean? He won't do an Aveda. He doesn't have free will anymore. He's going to become a tzaddik gomer? No. He can't take away a bechira chavshis, the free will we all have. Hashem gave us something, just like He has free choice. He gave us free choice. Hein ha'adam ka'achad mimenu. We have some special koyach that we can make our own decisions. There's no one else, no other being in the whole shtalshel sa'ilamis that can make their own decisions. It means that b'shoigig, by accident, we won't do Avedis if we are careful from having even a mashu, a little slight amount of chametz of Pesach. Now, what does that mean? Pesach, we have two isurim regarding chametz. Two general isurim. Not to eat chametz and not to own chametz. When the Arizal said, Kol haniza mimashu chametz, I don't remember the exact language, it's mentioned in the Poskim and Shulchan Aruch. Shari Tshuva brings it. When he says, Kol haniza mimashu chametz, muftach loy shaliyechta, I don't remember the exact language. It's talking about that you're, according to most understanding, that you're careful not to eat a mashu chametz, but not about owning a mashu chametz. So when we see that there are chumras regarding cleaning Pesach, but then there's a lot of special chumras by Chassidim about the food that they eat on Pesach, that they're very careful to do various things. Some of the things it's hard to understand why we're still keeping on to those minhagim, which were based on other reasons in Europe, altita shterisi mecha, whatever it might be, but Lamaisa, we're more nizar regarding achila than regarding owning. Meaning owning is also an issa to own chametz. But the hidurim in the chumras over here, about peeling and things like that, is regarding that shouldn't, maybe a little mashu chametz got stuck to the outside of the potato, so people peel it. The reality is you can wash it off, right? This is an extra hidur and chumrah that certain people have, certain communities or certain families have. But this is all regarding staying away from mashahu chametz. You know that what is the food that there is the biggest concern Pesach for about chametz? It's the matzah. The food that can only become chametz on Pesach is the matzah. Because the matzah is wheat and flour. The real biggest shasha chametz is in the matzah. So there were certain holy people, they were very careful about the matzah Pesach. By the Litvische was in the brisker, and certain chassidim, which is the masmid, they only ate the amount of matzah that you chayiv to eat. No more extra matzah. Matzah? Then they would burn the matzah. They would burn it as crisp. They don't want any mashu that's not fully baked. A little particle and not fully baked. So they would go, this is not for us, but for special Jews. But we're not at that level. We don't need to go burn the matzah. We're going to burn the matzah. We're not going to have Simchas Yom Tov. For them, this was the Simchas Yom Tov. If they didn't burn the matzah, they didn't have the Simchas Yom Tov. It was going to be a big shaila. Right? They say that the shaila gebrachs. I had a maisa. My wife's grandfather, Olav Shalom Ber Gutnik. He was a Rav in Australia, and when he was younger, he learned in London in Eitz Chaim. There was a yeshiva there. I think it was called Eitz Chaim, and was a famous mashgiach who moved to Eretz Yisrael later. Trying to remember his name now. Reb Elia Lapian. Reb Elia Lapian. Art Scroll has an entire book, a biography on him. He later moved to Eretz Yisrael, and he had a yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. Or he joined another yeshiva. So Reb Elia Lapian was known as a big, not just, he was known like a big tzaddik, like someone very special. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe, I don't remember the background, but I heard the story from my wife's grandfather that he said as a child, Reb Elia Lapian came and ate Pesach by them, like his mother cooked, and he ate by them in the house. I don't remember if he said there was something with his wife. I don't know exactly what was the reason. Now he had brought with him his machine matzah, and he was taking his matzah and he was dipping it into the soup, which is gebrachs, right? Shruyim, matzah shruyim. So he was a little boy, Shalom Ber Gutnik. He was a young boy. I don't know if he was yet in yeshiva yet by him. I think he was a way he remembered to tell him the story. It was like he was a young boy. He was looking at him with wide eyes, like gebrachs, like, we never saw in his family anyone doing that, getting the matzah wet. So Rabbi Elias saw him looking at him, and he said to him, Yingala, Yingala, if I would eat your matzah, he told him in Yiddish, if I would eat your matzah, I would also be careful. But I'm eating the machine matzah, which is baked well. So the Litvish Taina that the machine matzahs are baked so well that there's no part of it. You do things by hand. It's hey mishamaisis. So it's not properly baked. So therefore, you can have pieces of flour. What's the whole shasha gebrachs? That when you need the dough, the flour into water. Flour and water don't mix naturally. If you put flour and water in a cup, they're not going to naturally become dough. You have to pound it in. You have to push the flour into the water, press it in. Naturally, water repels the flour. So you have to push it in. Now you're kneading the dough. A lot of times on the outside of the dough, there's still flecks of flour that water has not entered into those flecks. You see little white flecks. So the more you knead it, the more you're trying to get every part into but you don't always get you have to knead it a lot in order to really get it kneaded well. When we make matzahs, Yisrael Kedoshim Heim, and we do it very quick. Every matzah takes like 2-3 minutes, the whole process. We say 18 minutes, but l'maaseh, the process is much less than 18 minutes for each matzah. Each matzah takes 2-3 minutes. I know the exact calculation from when you start pouring the water on the flour till it comes out from the oven. It's very quick. So when Klal Yisrael started to make matzah so quick, so what happened is they didn't have time to knead it properly. When you don't knead it properly, you're going to have flecks of flour that are not, water didn't enter them. Pieces of flour. They're sitting on the dough. Now you roll it out, it gets baked, and on top and the bottom of the matzah, you have little tiny white flecks. This is what it is. You take a matzah. I mean, I take a look at a matzah. Let's say in the Kranite matzah bakery, I take a look at it. I see. You look at it carefully. You see little tiny white flecks. Those are the pieces of flour that never got mixed in. Now, when you take that matzah, you dip it into the water. Now you're having water coming in contact with those pieces on Pesach, and you're not necessarily going to eat it right away, or it might sit around. It's going to sit around in your soup, and it can become possibly chash of chametz. So this is where the Yisoy, the matzah shruya, the whole chashash came from. The Alter Rebbe and Tshuva, the Baal HaTanya explains this reason, but he also explains the das hamatirim. He doesn't only explain the machmirim, he explains both sides of the coin, how you look at it, because many poskim say that baked flour cannot become chametz, will not rise because it was baked already. So ma bekach that it came in contact with water, it's baked already. So there are svaras l'kula. There is a tzad l'chumra. So the Alter Rebbe writes that a yois that the Arizal said, like we spoke earlier, that if you nizer from mashul chametz on Pesach, you get special brachas. So therefore, it's a chumrah which is right to take on. But the last day of Yom Tiv is only D'Rabbanan. The lie in Eretz Yisrael, they only have 7 days. So the 8th day is only D'Rabbanan. And mitzad simchas Yom Tiv to have gibrachs, we're mekel to have gibrachs on the 8th day. That's the heter why you have gibrachs on the 8th day. And in Chabad, they added in a hezber al pi sidus why dafke that you should have gibrachs on the 8th day. We should specifically have gibrachs. But the heter of how you're allowed to, if you're machmir, is based on the fact that the last day is more kuladik, more mekel. It's a rabbanon. No, they eat it on the 8th day. The oilam is mekel. The time of the 8th day is the rabbanon. Eretz Yisrael, there's no 8 days. 8 days the rabbanon. Only in Chutz La'aretz. And there's a mitzvah simchas Yom Tiv, so you get simchas Yom Tiv and you can have a knedel, you can dip in the matzah, so there's a simchas Yom Tiv. So simchas Yom Tiv, and the last day, you can be mekel and rely on the mekilim by matzah shrui.
I heard one
Yeah.
that there's an opening of Malvern Street and it doesn't necessarily mean to a from view. The part meaning it doesn't talk in the part trust. So it's showing that you're rolling out right. So I'm it's production, I'm advise you. So like those who don't eat the crop. On the last day, they got the one shows that it's
Just a chumrah.
that you're over. It's only a chumrah adas.
You hear? Nice word.
You take away that kitchen.
A nice word. The other thing, the Shulchan Aruch itself already says that there were different minhagim in Ashkenaz not to eat certain things, like raisins and different. So the poskim say that the last day were more mekel with these things. The last day of Pesach. There were other chashashes how they prepared certain things, and so already earlier poskim say that the last day you could be mekel.
Here's sort of why I should only price that's how to do it. Had to do with the flight. They had. We had to take.
Well, Maisa,
They don't have. They will.
kidneys were not mekel on the last day Pesach. Kidneys were not mekel. Ashkenazim are not mekel on kidneys. Children,
Say that.
yeah.
Why start really eats right? Because that's what find when they let it. They had.
So the whole machine matzah and the shmura matzah, this is a big machloikis in Amalek Zeiten. And Bechlal, things are done today much different than machine matzah. They have now chaburis in Eretz Yisrael. They make chaburis for machine matzah. Groups that get together and they go bake the machine matzah.
That people why they hold the roller. People can fight.
I think so. They do that also by all matzahs. Yeah, all matzahs make the holes. Okay, how did we get into Hilchos Pesach? I don't know. What's the kesha between Parshas Pinchas and Pesach? Some people, maybe some people start cleaning now already.
Tell you what, it's how you spell because some spell with some spell without it. Same thing with matzah, some spell with the bud, some spell matzah without it. Yeah.
Oh, you were asking about Bayer, about the peeling. Okay, so people that peel the vegetables. Yeah, you have to be very careful that even if you have a chumrah hider, that you shouldn't make it the bilitis. Bilitis means you're not supposed to be boilet, stick out. You do it privately, quietly. There's no need to be showy about it. Definitely not to make other people, like, it's called mechse kiyuara on Paiskin. Not to come, the Shulchan Aruch talks about even wearing Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin. In those days, it was considered someone put on Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin and was like, he's showing off that he's such a chashuv yid. Mechse kiyuara. Zay state. And again, why don't women wear talesim? And mitzvah say shazman grama, they're potter. But why can't they wear it? So they're potter, but they're allowed to do mitzvahs that they're potter, and they do tkiyah shofar, a lulav and esrog. Why can't they wear tzitzis? Talis. It says it's mechse kiyura that mitzvah the lady, she's going to start wearing it. Well, what is she trying to do? She's trying to make a statement.
No, there's no to and buffalo. I mean, from Rabbi Stern, used to always go to the side room when it's to Father Van Tom. It's the only one that shows at that time.
Well, that's some question of time period. Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin today is not a yura. So it depends.
Well, if you're the only person to show who's playing
But a chumras and hidurim are not meant to be showy. So if someone's coming to show I have the best esrog in the whole shul, that's not the mitzvah that you should walk around, that everyone should be jealous of your esrog, and you're walking around with a silver case, like, who knows what. The whole shul shu'u and ah. And this is a big, we laugh, but some communities this is very real. The people feel they can't walk into shul without having that choshev esrog. They cannot walk into their shul, it's peer pressure. Just can't walk into shul without that choshev esrog. And they're going around the whole New York looking for that muhudah sheba muhudah. This is not the way of Chassidim. I know people do it, but this is nishtas of the Chassidus, nishtas of Chassidim. Everything what you would do is for yourself, privately, clap you and the Eibishter, and not to show, not ben adam lachavere, that should bring more yeshus, as we call it. More yeshus.
What does that mean?
Yesh is more self-focus. It's supposed to be more bittul. Less self-focus, and that was the whole idea that Chassidim was Chassidus, the Baal Shem Tov, said don't have to focus on yourself, and focus on Ahavas Yisrael, and not about the hoo-ha, who you are, and if you'll not be focused on yourself, Derech HaMeila, things will get better. But if we're so into ourselves, they say it's the I generation. Everything's about the I. So a person needs healthy self-esteem, that's important, but we can't equate that with the concept of having holiness and yeshus.
What you have, they don't get.
They don't need it. The woman naturally. If they don't, they're not mechuyev in it, that means that they don't need it. That they don't need the shmira, they have it naturally.
It's no little term that we have to hear it.
Where does it say it provides shmira? Mitzad avedus, you're saying.
No, there's a story that happened 50 years ago. Heard from my two rabbis in store. When he started out, they go to a camp, and they were going to another camp to have a miss doing ordering, and in the country. We passed over the roads at Buffalo, the narrow road, the Boulder, and he came down and went on the bus and skid. The only wasn't wearing Tulsa, the only one that was hurt. Now the thing was, he was seeing the fact. And And when the boulder came down in the middle, nobody was hurt. How did he get hurt? So someone told me to go there and throw, but he was very good. Well, have to be like having like that. So we go to the person who got me is the main though, he's play card. Don't come with me. He walks in, because of that wait. He said, how's go back to New York, go pay him with the NY. This when you put him on the right before you put him on the house front, I went move that with for the person. I went to the wrong church street. I was last guy gets on the plane, comes the back of the airport, rushes to the NY. So he tells all the guys to see travelers. I went to see a miracle. Put on the house, let the house up on the way. He opened up his eye and he was that was it. So
Nice.
we learned that.
Nice and ifna.
No.
I heard the story already, but it's
In general, women are not any mitzvah that they're not chayiv means that they don't need that kesher. Women naturally have a strong kesher with the Eibishter. 9:30. The clock's a little off.
Yeah. Look at Bobby comes back.
How are you, David Stabgir?
They're not in Florida, I can tell you that. The people, this is not the season for people. Snowbirds travel anywhere
Now
that's
you have
cooler.
to come back to New York for the summer.
I don't have any place to stay.
I'm sure the parrots will help you out.
Well, if he has a place for himself to stay. Anyway, thank you for the
Good to
share.
see you. Good to
Thank
see you.
Thank you. I just want to mention to you one thing. A few times I went to Rebbitzin Young Rice, couple times, because my hearing went so bad that I really couldn't hear her even when she was next to me. Anyway, so but in her shear, somebody would stop her while she's in the middle of a shear and ask her a question that had nothing to do with the shear. So she had a beautiful way of handling that person and said, not now, after the class.
One this in the bus. We only got 6 of them.
Thank you for the tip.
No, yeah, Abby and
Shakayach everyone for joining. Rabbi Davis, thank you for
Abby
joining.
upstream come with this people.
And happy 4th of July.
Oh, I'm all ready for 4th of
So we already
July.
have 7.
You had the firecrackers.
No, I have a complete outfit from
You have
the
the
hat,
earplugs. You have either earplugs or you have fireworks.
neither. This is a quiet place.
You
Okay, Zayg is